Man, I gotta get a new hat. But the vegan in me won't let me do it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? So, I guess I got criticized by a couple people for the title to my second to last video, I guess, which read, quote, Gojiman fails to heal Tim Shieff, unquote. Even though that's exactly what happened, as evidenced by Gojiman's latest damage control video entitled Why, quote, Why I Didn't Heal Tim Shieff, unquote. Apparently, some of you vegans got so triggered you forgot to be logical, or were you born so? Maybe it's the vitamin and nutrient deficiencies that don't allow your brain to work properly. If you don't do something, why isn't it fair to say that you failed to do that thing? Say you make plans to drive to Vegas, but something happens, even out of your control, that prevents you from driving to Vegas. Isn't it fair to say that you failed to drive to Vegas? Now, I said nothing about Gojiman's treatment failing, right? I even gave him credit saying that he very well may have the right kind of drugs for the wrong kind of bacteria, right? I did. So you're way out of line, completely illogical. Don't piss me off. The more you do, the more I'm going to make these videos. So, fuck it, have at it. Anyway, I wanted to follow up on some of the criticism as well as Gojiman's damage control video. In order to help you guys understand why I make these videos, now granted, the previous video, I was just having a little bit of fun because, as I stated in the past, sometimes I make funny videos, sometimes I make serious ones, and this is the latter. Not to say I won't crack any jokes, but hey, we'll see what comes to mind. Anyway, Gojiman Gojiman comes out saying that Tim Shieff refused to be treated by Gojiman. And even though Gojiman cannot be trusted, right? Because he says he will do something and then he does the exact opposite. And he lies to you all the time, misleads people all the time, as I've pointed out in other videos and as I'm sure you'll point out in this one. I have no reason to believe that that's not true because Tim Shieff, especially now that he's eating animal products and getting all the proper nutrients to make his brain work as it should, I can't say he's a dumb guy, right? I mean, it's not that difficult to see through Gojiman as long as you're able to break out of the shackles of veganism. If you're able to break out of this ideological possession that is the capital V, veganism, it wouldn't be very difficult for you to see exactly that which I see. So I'm going to project a little bit and speculate as to why Tim Shieff refused treatment. I believe he did, and he was very intelligent to do that. Where do I begin? As we found out in Tim Shieff's test, one of his tests, he had an elevated level of oxalates in his, I don't know if it was feces or blood, I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but that was one of the problems, right, which is one of the biggest problems with the plant-based diet. We cannot process oxalates very efficiently in large quantity because we're not fucking goats, all right? And every single goddamn mother flower and plant on this planet contains oxalate. Some contain some, many contain a ton, especially that spinach, kale, brown rice, chocolate, so on and so forth. So part of the treatment that Gojiman proposed for Tim Shieff was going to be diet, a low oxalate diet. Now, what is the ultimate, let me ask you this, ultimate low oxalate or damn near zero oxalate diet? What is it? The carnivore diet. Do you think Gojiman was going to suggest the best diet for dealing with this problem for Tim Shieff? No, because he already made videos saying that only the vegan diet can heal the gut. And the carnivore diet is only going to make your gut problems worse. That's what he said. So obviously, this is what he believes. Well, this is what he says. This is what he promotes. He wasn't going to suggest the best possible diet for dealing with this oxalate problem to Tim Shieff, right? Now, Tim Shieff probably figured that out because he's not a dumb guy, especially now that his brain is working properly, most likely. It's likely that he figured this out and he told Gojiman to go fucking kick rocks. This is the problem with vegan doctors and any doctors that are ideological and dogmatic. If you are bound to this ideology of veganism, you're going to suggest a vegan solution to every problem, right? But it just so happens that sometimes the solution is outside of that realm. And in this case, the best solution is an all-meat diet, which isn't to say that Tim Shieff should forever eat this way, but for the time being, dealing with his oxalate overload, that would be the best, most optimal diet. Now, if you are a health practitioner who's not willing to suggest the best possible treatment for your patient, well, you ain't worth a good goddamn, are you? Fuck no. So who's to say Tim Shieff didn't figure that out and told your fucking crypt keeper to go kick fucking rocks? Just pulling out some weeds. And look, I'm not even saying that any diet could heal your gut, okay? And this is another problem that I have with what Gojiman is pushing out there, because the diet is only part of the solution, okay? And it won't necessarily, although I think there are some benefits to eating certain things, definitely probiotics, right? The diet isn't really going to do shit without, I guess it also depends on the problem, but in Tim's case, without some kind of antibiotic, natural or synthetic, right? It's only part of the treatment. And for all of you clowns criticizing Tim Shieff for trying to find a solution to his plant-based diet problem, and for all of you NPC vegan bots repeating the same bullshit that's been addressed many times over, especially by Tim himself, let me repeat this, just so it could forever, well, I don't delude myself, but hopefully some of you finally get what I'm saying, what's happening here. As Tim already pointed out in at least one of his videos, he was fine eating a whole food, plant-based, for the most part, diet initially. He even felt better, right? This often happens. But after a while, he started suffering eating this way, and that's why he began experimenting with urine therapy, fasting, or completely raw, all that other stuff. That's why he began experimenting, is because the vegan diet ruined his fucking health.
Can we just address this? Because people still get this twisted, and I even seen Plant-Based News share something recently, still blaming the fast. The fast saved my life. The fast cleared me. The fast freed me. The fast is not to blame. Drinking my urine is not to blame. That is the levels of desperation. I was dissatisfied with my health. My health was in decline. Seriously.
Look, and I know this is another problem with Gojiman and his lies. He will tell you that all of these people turning back to eating meat or the carnivore diet, they admit to having, this is what he said verbatim, admit to having prior gut issues. Well, maybe I changed some words here and there, but that's essentially what he said. And I will make that video one day with the clips from all the videos that he took down because he's full of shit. him saying that all of these people had underlying gut issues prior to going on the vegan diet is bullshit. That's not what happens. I mean, I'm not saying that it isn't correct in some cases, but to say that all of them, I mean, you couldn't even, how would you even know this, right? Just a complete fucking lie. So maybe, for example, Tim Shieff, who was fairly healthy, decided to run this scientific experiment on his body. You know, the scientific world, or the authorities, which he seems to be very skeptical of, which is a good idea in my opinion, is telling us that we're omnivores, right? This is the scientific consensus in the scientific community. And he encountered this other idea, like flat Earth, which was veganism, right? That we are herbivores. Essentially, that's what veganism says. It's part of the ideology, right? So he decided to test this hypothesis out. N equals 1 scientific experiment, right? And it failed. It failed. He started having issues, gut issues being some of those issues, right? And then so when he was eating meat, he didn't have these issues. He starts eating nothing but plants. Issues arise. He goes back to eating some animal products, and I don't know if he fixed all of his problems, but he says he's thankful for all the animals that healed him, right? So while being an omnivore, he doesn't have these issues. He goes vegan, testing the hypothesis, the human herbivore hypothesis, Triple H, suck my... Sorry, I get the idiocy, the deception, the bullshit. It just pisses me off, right? Deal with it. I'm not going to change my content because I'm content with it. Just because some of you want to complain. Anyway, meat, no problems, right? Not those kind of problems anyway. No meat, problems. Back to meat, no problems. How is that not a scientific experiment with a clear fucking conclusion that any moron could come to, right? Apparently not all the vegans, though, because you guys lie to yourselves. You don't listen to what the man is saying. You're not listening to what hundreds of other vegans are saying. There's a pattern there. Oxalates being one of them. So Gojiman is saying that you can't fix that. The carnivore diet is not part of the solution here. And Tim is experiencing the exact opposite, that adding meat products, animal products back into his diet is helping. So right then and there, he's probably seeing a conflict. He's seeing this vegan ideologue bullshitting him, or at the very least, being wrong. Then he also says he wants to put him on the low oxalate plant-based diet, which is a fucking oxymoron if I've ever heard one. When every fucking goddamn doctor that's worth his salt will tell you to eat a whole bunch of fucking meat on a low oxalate diet. Right? So there's another misconception there, or an outright fucking lie from an ideologically possessed health wannabe practitioner. And Tim, being an intelligent guy and listening to what everybody has to say, well, he probably realized that Gojiman is not the best solution for him here, because he's ideologically possessed, and whatever solution he proposes is going to be first and foremost motivated by the ideology of veganism and not wanting to heal Tim in the best way possible, right? And for all of you clowns talking about Tim Shieff ruining his health again with all these extreme approaches, what the fuck do you think Gojiman was going to do? He was going to suggest a low oxalate plant-based diet. Do you know what that is? Here's some motherfucking rice, dumbass. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Maybe some oatmeal for breakfast. Doubt it. But essentially, eat nothing but rice with some salt and pepper for a week. That's not extreme. Giving them antibiotics, natural or synthetic, don't matter. That's not extreme. Now, I'm not saying urine therapy is a great idea, or fasting or all these other things. But, you know, if you think what he did was extreme, Gojiman's solution was going to be no less extreme. It might have been better, but it wasn't going to be the optimal solution anyway, which Tim found on his own anyway. by eating some meat. But if you really want to go, again, on a low oxalate or zero oxalate diet, eat animal products since dairy, because dairy has trace amounts of oxalates, and eggs might as well, I'm not sure. But meat is essentially oxalate free. But Gojiman wasn't going to suggest that because, well, only the vegan diet can heal the gut. Nonsense. And then you have probiotics such as yogurt, kefir, high meat, or, aged fermented meat, what have you. That could very well be part of his treatment that Gojiman was never going to suggest. He was going to give him that shit in the bottle. Anyway, another thing we found out was that Tim had gut dysbiosis. He had, I think the bacteria is called Klebsiella. He had an overgrowth of that bacteria, which a lot of us have apparently in our gut anyway, but it maintains a certain balance. It tends to anyway. And then he had a whole bunch of other neither beneficial nor detrimental bacteria that was out of balance, and which suggests that he didn't have enough of the good bacteria anyway, right? So there was an imbalance in his gut. Now, this Klebsiella bacteria, guess where you get that shit from? Now, he might have actually gotten it from drinking urine. That's possible. But guess where you get it from primarily? Guess. Contaminated water that your veggies get sprayed with, watered with, thus veggies. And you could get it from a variety of sources, but veggies is a great source. Not only Klebsiella, but all kinds of fucking bacteria. E. coli included, but they scare us about E. coli in the meat, when you're actually more likely to get that from lettuce and other veggies. And this is the problem with the vegan diet that no one seems to talk about, especially if you go raw. You're eating highly alkaline foods. And this has nothing to do with the dumbass alkaline diet. So please don't bring this shit to me ever again when I talk about alkaline foods, all right? Stop. Thank you. You, on the vegan diet, because it's nutritionally poor food, fare, you have to eat a lot of it then, right? To get all your macro and micronutrients. You're going to end up eating a lot of alkaline plants, which will lower your stomach acid, if only for the time being, before it can bounce back when you're once again fasting or there's no food in your stomach, right? So what you're doing on this vegan diet, you're likely lowering your stomach pH, which allows bacteria to proliferate, because you're eating food that's likely infected with this bacteria, which, if you don't have to eat so much of it because you're also eating meat, your stomach acid levels remain more or less normal, and they're able to deal with a little bit of bad bacteria. They're able to kill it. But if you lower your stomach pH with this highly alkaline vegan diet, especially raw, all of a sudden, all this bad bacteria has more of a chance of proliferating in your gut and causing problems, on top of the oxalate problem that's already inherent to the fucking dumbass vegan diet. So, I'm not saying that Gojiman doesn't have the right drugs to kill the wrong kind of bacteria, right? Any dipshit with a little bit of an education or even internet research can do this, yeah? But because the underlying issue here is the vegan diet, and obviously ideologically possessed gnome that he is. Sorry, I'm not very creative at the moment. Because he is ideologically possessed, a healer, if you will. And that prevents him from finding the best solution, and definitely prevents him from recommending anything other than the vegan diet. Even though Gojiman might have been able to probably would have been able to fix, if only temporarily, Tim's gut dysbiosis and oxalate overload by putting him on a extreme fucking rice diet or what have you, the underlying issue would have still remained the vegan diet. So he heals Tim for the time being. Everything comes back to normal. He wouldn't have healed his joints, that's for damn sure, because you need fucking collagen for that. And just because we make some doesn't mean we make enough. It doesn't, right? because he would have suggested that Tim stay on the same diet that caused the problems in the first place, the problems would have come back eventually anyway. But this is how the medical system operates, right? And Gojiman, even though he's vegan, he's part of it. It's all about putting band-aids and not going to the root of the problem. Because if you solve the problem of a lot of these diseases, lifestyle diseases, if you will, by changing people's lifestyle, well, then you're out of a fucking job. If Gojiman heals every single vegan out there, then he's out of a fucking job. So obviously he's not incentivized to heal anybody permanently. He's not incentivized like the medical system that we have on this planet. Flat Earth, if you will. I don't give a fuck. Obviously, it's counterproductive for the system the way it is, the way it exists. And Gojiman is part of the same fucking system, just a slightly different methodology. You know, they're not motivated to provide a solution, only a temporary one, because they want to maintain the patients, right? So Tim Shieff probably woke up to this fact, the skeptical motherflower that he is. He saw through Gojiman's bullshit, and he decided to go a better route, not the vegan route, but the human route. What's best for me as a human being? Forget about the animals for the time being. But thank you for your services, and thank you for listening. I'm gonna cut it off now and get back to work. Thanks for watching.